The argument over gun control has raged, and among those demanding stricter gun laws is CNN host Piers Morgan. There's one particular stat that Morgan has been citing for weeks. In our commitment to balanced news, Ben investigates the truth behind it in Reality Check.
Last night on CNN's Piers Morgan Tonight, Morgan interviewed radio host Alex Jones. And to say it was wild, well, that would be an understatement. Here's just a small clip.
Answer this question. How many
Why'd you get fired from the Daily Mirror for putting out fake stories? You're a hatchet man of the New World Order.
Let's try again. How many gun murders were there?
Oh, you're going to ban your fist now?
In Britain last year.
How many chimpanzees can dance on the head of a pin? I already went over those statistics.
Do you know the answer?
No, I don't.
You said hundreds.
It's very low.
You said hundreds.
Yes.
It's actually 35.
Well, the point is you can...
Against 11,000.
As I said, it was wild, and it got even more wild than that. But we wanted to take a look at some of that exchange because the stat that Piers Morgan was continuing to cite, one that Great Britain, which banned guns about 15 years ago, had only 35 gun-related murders in 2011 compared to the United States, which had 11,000. Let's start there because that number is not correct. According to FBI crime stats for 2011, there were 12,664 homicides in the U.S. Of those, 8,583 were caused by firearms. But of those, 400 are listed as justifiable homicide by law enforcement, 260 justifiable homicide by private citizens. On the other hand, it is true that percentage-wise, Britain has a lower gun homicide rate. With a population of 62.6 million, Great Britain saw 59 gun-related homicides for 2011. Still not the 35 Piers Morgan keeps citing. Where the argument falls apart is when you attempt to claim that fewer guns equals less crime. The U.S. has the highest gun ownership rate in the world, an average of 88 guns per 100 people. That puts it first in the world for gun ownership. Yemen is second with 54.8 guns per 100 people. So that means the U.S. has the highest gun murder rate as well, right? Well, no. Honduras, El Salvador, and Jamaica have higher rates. So do 24 other countries. The U.S., despite being number 1 in gun ownership, is number 28 in gun homicide with a rate of 2.97 per 100,000 people. Of course, Piers Morgan isn't calling for the U.S. to be more like El Salvador and Honduras. He's calling for us to be more like Great Britain. So what do the numbers look like there? The UK has the second highest overall crime rate in the EU. The UK has the 5th highest robbery rate, the 4th highest burglary rate. But more importantly, the EU named Britain as the most violent country in the EU. In the UK, there are 2,034 violent crimes per 100,000 people. That puts it way ahead of even South Africa with a rate of 1,609 per 100,000. In the United States, we're not even in the top 10. The U.S. has a violent crime rate of 466 crimes per 100,000 residents. So what this means for you is that while people like Morgan insist that the U.S. can learn from Great Britain, well, maybe we can. What we might learn is that violent crime is not the result of a gun or any tool. It is the result of the heart of men and women. And that is Reality Check.
The gun control debate may be a bit out of control in Katy. CNN's Piers Morgan chose tactical firearms, a Katy gun shop and shooting range, as the backdrop for Monday's episode of Piers Morgan Tonight. Included in Monday's debate were Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott, State Senator Dan Patrick, and Ted Nugent. Tactical firearms owner Jeremy Alseed claims Morgan told him he wanted to use the time at the gun shop as a learning exercise.
He said, well, I'd like to learn more about guns. People criticize me saying that, how can I be against guns if I don't know anything about guns?
Sounds good so far.
And I said, man, this is going to be really good, and he really is wanting to find out.
Alseed says he was told the segment he was in would be live, but that wasn't the case.
The points that I did make were just kind of garbled to the point where people were asking, why was I speaking in broken sentences? And I say, look back at the video, and you'll see in one instance I'm wearing glasses, one I'm not, one hearing protection, one not, and they just chopped it up so bad it wasn't even funny.
Was it a cheap shot?
They completely misrepresented what I wanted to get across.
We reached out to CNN for a response, but have not yet heard back from them. All this as President Obama is pushing his gun control agenda. We're guessing he won't be welcome in Katy.
you and urge you to
Piers,
continue.
thank you. You've been wonderful. Thank you so much for your help. It is.
Senator Feinstein, as always, thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Why'd you get fired from the Daily Mirror for putting out fake stories? You're a hatchet man of the New World Order.
Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests. I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.